Ardenrel had spent so many seasons drifting through the rust halo that the static hum of broken hulls felt like home. The halo, an immense ring of metallic shrapnel encircling the dwarf planet Carthus, once the pride of the Imperial shipyards. After the fall, factory platforms and defense satellites alike had been pulverized, leaving a torus thousands of kilometers thick. Salvagers picked through it the way 19th century beachcombers once sifted wrack on lonely shores, looking for anything that still carried charge or alloy value. Arden's tug, the Midshipman's Respite, favored a loop near grid Theta 12, where centuries-old battle wreckage formed a slow-turning maze. Her ship was little more than a pressurized engine block with clamps, cargo nets, and a cabin no wider than a dining car. But every day she ferried off enough copper traces or intact thrusters to keep hull and crew alive. The halo was harsh, but it was predictable, at least until the Navy flags appeared on the deep-range scopes, shattering that routine like a pry bar through glass. The alert blinked crimson on the Respite's nav screen. Fleet, Moit, Prox. Arden snapped in a neck clip to steady herself in weightless cabin. "Show me," she barked to the ship's deckhand AI. Murphy, the tug's soft-voiced system, overlaid a sweep. Green icons, Coalition cruisers. Orange, Imperial. The two lines arrowed straight toward grid Theta. Their course lines intersected dangerously close to the salvage corridor. Arden felt her pulse quicken. "They wouldn't," she whispered. The halo was neutral salvage cord, off limits for live fire, but law was a fragile alloy. It bent when fleets were desperate, and rumors said both sides were. That rumor now came screaming in on subspace, each fleet broadcasting its flagship's ident signature for intimidation. Coalition's Dreadnought, CS Victory Bound, strobed its banner code across open channels minimal enough that even the Respite's minimalist receiver shuddered. Minutes later, the Imperial DNS Indomitable returned a challenge ping so powerful the head ghosted with static. The halo suddenly felt smaller, a brawl conducted inside a powder magazine. Arden let out the breath she'd been clamping. "Plot withdrawal," she ordered Murphy. "We ride outside anyone's firing corridor." The AI began path calculations, but then stuttered. "Problem?" she asked. "Vector obstruction," Murphy said. "Uncharted mass ahead. Metallic, non-uniform. Request visual verification." Arden swung the nose cam. The viewport, scattered shards glittered. That was normal. But at 30 kilometers, a denser knot of debris rotated. Rusty hull plates, gnawed engines, loose framework. It hadn't been there the day before. On salvage charts, the region was flagged light safe passage. She had flown it 100 times. "What in the void?" Arden muttered. Murphy, ever literal, replied, "Unknown. Suggest closer scan." Arden nearly refused. She had a fleet face-off erupting on her doorstep. But salvage instinct tugged. Fresh debris meant fresh loot. Maybe ground zero of some forgotten skirmish. She eased the Respite forward, thrusters sighing. As the cameras resolved shapes from scrap, a strange order emerged. Struts arranged like the spoke of a broken wheel. Plating tessellated in overlapping leaf patterns, engines fused into clusters. It looked bizarrely like sculpture junk art someone might find in a planetary gallery if it weren't floating in a killing field. "Murph, run EM spectrum," Arden said. Static scrolled. Then a faint spike curled at 93.7 gigahertz. Low power. Not wreckage then. Something sleeping. "Internal reactors on minimal tickover," Murphy confirmed. "Probability of active system 43%. Salvagers encountered dormant mines sometimes. A quick data handshake, a bribe of false ident codes, and the ordnance slept on. Yet this cluster's power readings seemed deliberately masked, cunning enough to dupe standard salvage probes. Only at kissing range did it whisper its true self. Arden's mouth went dry. "Back off," she said. Thrusters flared, nudging the tug into reverse. But another ping struck her sensors. different frequency, twin to the first. Now readings blossomed across the junk belt like fungi awakening after rain. One cluster became 3, then 9. A lattice of camouflaged anomalies revealed itself, each disguised by scrap, each bleeding just enough heat to exist. Arden understood then. She had stumbled onto a minefield no database believed existed. Worse, both navies charging toward Theta carried dreadnoughts blaring identity codes across half a sector, and the anomalies had heard. High over Karth, Admiral Laisa Chen of the Coalition fleet paced the CIC of the Victory Bound. "We thread the halo, cut inside the wreck mass, swing out their flank," she told her command screen. "Imperials know the outer corridor. They'll expect us there. We give them surprise from the inside." Her tactical officer, Captain Olo, hesitated. "Ma'am, salvage accords have expired the moment Imperials cross the boundary," Chen said. "They'll break before we do." The Admiral's plan carved a daring slash, but no one in the command ring questioned. The war had raged 3 years. Boldness paid the bills. Orders rippled, engines spooled. The behemoth Victorious Bound carried her escort frigates into the metal fog of the halo. On the opposite arc, Admiral Serovansk of DNS, Indomitable, prepared his own feint. Send destroyers wide, punch dreadnought through salvage center behind the distract. 2 flagships, like stags lowering antlers, converged on the densest debris fields unknown to them both, and on the dormant things waiting amid that debris. Arden hammered comms, routing to Coalition Emergency, then Imperial, then the Neutral Salvage Authority. Message packages repeated, unknown ordnance lattice in Theta 12, camouflage cluster, possible code switched toward red. Possible code switched toward red. Recommend immediate halt. Reroutes bounce back. Busy lines or command encryption refusals. Commanders on the brink of battle had no time for a civilian tug. "Murphy, send again on every civilian frequency." "Acknowledged, but flag transmissions risk detection." "By who? The—" Arden caught herself. "By whatever these clusters really are." "Correct," the eye said. "Send anyway. We are out of good options." Across the respite's forward canopy, dark shapes stirred. One plate shifted, releasing a slow cascade of rust flecks. A protrusion rotated out of the jumble, a thruster bell with scoring much too clean for centuries of neglect. Murphy flashed new data. Heat rise plus 600% in cluster alpha. Magnetic field fluctuations consistent with ignition spool. She stared, transfixed, as a second bell glowed blue. Then, soundless in vacuum, the junk sculpture disintegrated. Jud plates peeled away to reveal a matte cylinder braced by maneuvering vanes. Missile, 30 meters long, nose banded in sensor strips. It drifted free, aligning toward the halo's outer rim, the exact vector from which the dreadnought ident signatures blared. Missile 2 awakened. Then Missile 3, 4, 100. Like seeds shaken from a dry pod, they wriggled out of husks and ignited. Each thruster flickering on minimal burn, conserving fuel for the strike. "They're sleeper missiles," Arden whispered. "Using junk as cocoon. Who would—" Murphy supplied grim context. Cross-belted archives label similar devices. Sariel Lances, classified Imperial Mark 11, conceived late in the Fall War. Arden remembered half-heard ghost stories from older salvagers. Abandoned caches of Sariel Lances, never proven. Their legends said they targeted flagships uniquely, sniffing for signature keys broadcast by nav beacons or IFF transponders. When the enemy paraded triumphantly, the Lances would rise from scrap like avenging spirits. So, they don't care who owns the dreadnought, Arden realized. Just big ship signals. Both sides are about to be hit. Probability high, Murphy agreed. Arden felt the tug's deck yaw. She seized a handrail. "We can't outrun them?" she asked. "Vectors cross our withdrawal path. Impact windows within 3 minutes." A decision coagulated inside her. A salvager's calculus flipped into something nobler. She keyed comms again, this time to shortwave salvage band. "All civilian craft in Theta. Unknown missile swarm. Power down transmitters go dark. Repeat," Fuzz answered. "This is Scrap Ferry Lumen Dawn. Missile lock? Are you drunk? Not drunk. Hide or die, Arden said. She killed the channel. Now, evidence of the swarm went obvious. Each missile trailed a shimmering contrail of vaporized froth. They separated into 2 hunting packs, one draping toward Coalition IFF, the other toward Imperial. Arden's readings counted 214 lances. A single Sariel carried a phased fusion spearhead, enough to crack a cruiser clean. Flagships might survive 2 hits with shields raised. 20? Ash. Murphy open missile protocol attempt. Let's spoof their Frenfo tables. Something. Encryption unknown, derivatives obsolete. Success chance 8%. Wait. 8 is better than 0. The AI formed a burst, mimicking the Sariel's handshake seed gleaned from the first cluster. They cast the falsified code into the swarm. For a breathless microsecond, nothing changed. Then Missile 79 wobbled, its thruster fluttering. Connection lost. The rest maintained course. A drop in an ocean. 8% was optimistic, Arden growled. Correction, Murphy said unhelpfully. She scanned nav. 2 frigates, Sagacity and Certitude had, slipped ahead of their flagship, now inside the swarm's kill path. They hadn't spotted the lances yet. She mashed the hail key to Sagacity's open channel. Frigate 731, emergency, kill your IFF broadcast, cut it. The reply came, exasperated, civilian tug, clear channel, then silence. Sagacity's sensor dome winked. Osariel caught the handshake and kicked into attack burn. White flame erupted. Impact turned the frigate into a petaled flower of blue fire. Certitude tried evasive thruster flips, but 3 lances speared her stern, rupturing reactor plates. The kills were instant, precise like surgeons' incisions. That carnage snapped both fleets to attention. Radar blooms spiked across the halo, as captains realized they were being stalked by their own history. But it was too late to retreat. Sariels were quicker than cruisers and ran on algorithmic cunning. Arden punched her console. Murphy, find their command stream. These things must confide with some supervisory core among the junk clusters. The AI processed. Hypothesis. Central cradle node remains concealed near debris centroid. Contains targeting array memory core. Vector me. Coordinates populated. A drift of torn plating close to Arden's location, 10 kilometers starboard, masked among inert scrap. If they severed the node, maybe lances would fail mid-flight. She throttled engines. The respite leapt, magnet clamps rattling stowed salvage. It was madness, but salvage tugs were nimble compared to dreadnoughts, and the Sariels ignored small fry, tuned only to battleship heartbeats. The cradle cluster emerged from dust like a rusted crown blunt spires bristling with comm dishes, cracked solar wings. Arden coasted in, eyes scanning for anything that resembled a data spine. She saw it, a coffin-shaped compartment half hidden under a collapsed girder, heat flow rates above ambient. She could have fired the respite's only micro-torpedo, but that risked blowing the node without certainty. Instead, she grabbed her pressure suit. Morphe? She said. Sealing helmet. Hold position. If something targets us, scoot. Understood. Arden. She cycled airlock, kicked off into the void, tether lines spiraling behind. Stars spun. Junk drifted silent as secrets. Her suit lamp cast pale corona over fractured alloy. She anchored boots to plating and slithered toward the coffin box. Up close, Imperial markings peeked through mudded oxidation. Property of Dark Sun research. The date, 244.93 decades before Karth's fall. Arden drew a plasma cutter salvager's universal key and traced a rectangle on the panel seam. Metal curled away in incandescent ribbons. Interior boards glowed faint green. Dusty crystals held memory arrays. She jacked in a hardline splice, letting Murphy invade. Data scrolled in her helmet. Target profiles. Capital class greater than tonnage. 250,000. Stand by. Listen. Listen. Can you rewrite? She asked. breath-fogging visor. Root command requires authentication string, Murphy replied. We lack original developer keys. Override then, Bricket. I can trigger thermal overload of reactor cell. Estimated detonation 5 kilotons. 5 kilotons will scatter us like confetti, Arden hissed. Option: controlled EM pulse via capacitor cascade. Potentially fries guidance nets without critical explosion. Do it! Through her gloves, she felt capacitors whine as Murphy coerced them. Skeins of blue corona arced along the node's skeleton, crawling like lightning in a jar. Then a blunt thud vibrated plating. An EMP bloom, invisible but potent. Arden's suit HUD spiked static, then cleared. She looked upward. In the distance, dozens of Sariel tails flickered. Some went dark, tumbling inert. Others drifted off vector, their warheads clueless. But many, too many retained lock, still burning toward the flagships. The MP had halved the swarm, not erased it. She cursed, kicked off, reeled back to tug. As airlock sealed, Murphy updated counts. Remaining active lances, 71 targeting Coalition, 62 targeting Imperial. It will gut them, Arden muttered, shrugging out of suit. Outside, flashes strobed as Indomitable's escort screen began using flak grids, carving some lances apart. But each kill consumed precious capacitor banks, and reload cycles were slow. Even if flagships survived, shock waves would pulverize half the halo. Arden bit her lip until she tasted copper. Another idea sparked. Murphy, compare serial thrust curves to our tractor capacity. Tug can capture at most 2 simultaneously. Not capture, redirect. We net 1. Pivot thruster, ram it into another. Probability of survival. Spare me decimals, prep harpoon launcher. The respite banked, hunting an isolated Sariel weaving through debris. Arden launched a magnetic bolt. It clanged onto missile casing. Winch motors screamed as Tug applied yaw torque, slewing the Lance's nose away from its algorithmic path. Thruster fought, but the Tug's mass advantage prevailed. She lined its warhead on a second missile closing from port. Release! The Sariel sprang free, collided head-on with its twin. 2 warheads became a premature sun, shockwave flinging the Tug like a toy. Alarms shrilled. Hull microfractures spidered across viewplate. But Arden laughed, half hull, half triumph. 1 pair down. Hundreds to go. On victory bound, Admiral Chen watched horror bloom across her tactical tank. Unknown ordnance, gunnery officers repeated, as though mantra might make it vanish. We can't compute their jinx vectors. Chen slammed a fist. Kill transponder primary, we ghost. Flags rarely killed their IFF. They were nerve centers for entire fleets, but desperation overrode doctrine. The dreadnought snuffed its signature and ramped chameleon plating to scatter beams. Indomitable replicated the tactic moments later. Serials lost precise lock, though inertia still carried them close. The flagship crews braced for impact. Suddenly, system chat displayed a civilian feed. Grainy POV from a tug warping through scrap. Grappling missiles, hurling them into each other. Chen squinted. Who in the void? She ordered. Focus. Their paint scrawl. Midshipman's recipe. A salvage operator was doing what entire war colleges could not. Chen keyed main broadcast. Tug respite, this is Admiral Chen. Give a solution. Arden's screen flickered as an admiral's face filled her cabin. She gulped. Break formation, turn off transponders, minimum thrusters, she snapped, forgetting decorum. And someone help me swat these things. Chen chuckled despite doom. Coalition will cover you. She cut, issuing orders. Micro corvettes peeled from her flank, forming a shell around the tug, using point lasers to cripple serial guidance fins. Imperials witnessed and grudgingly joined, their intercept craft drawing fire from common threat. Enemies became allies because history's ghost would kill them both. The joint defense forced lances into predictable lanes where Arden's tug could net them. Each kill sapped her hull integrity. Radiation meters flickered, but numbers dwindled. 40, 20, 9. A final trio streaked for Indomitable, shields depleted. Arden lacked proximity. But Captain Olo's frigate, battered yet alive, accelerated on ramming thrust. He impaled the center lance, sacrificed hull, chain reaction vaporized the remaining two. A martyr's gift. Sensors cleared. The Halo fell silent except for drifting slag. Hours passed in sucker mode, fleets nursing wounds, salvage crews patching holes. The truce held, born of mutual trauma. In Indomitable's medical bay, Admiral Vonsk and Admiral Chen met over a holograph of the shattered missile node. Arden joined via link, cheeks smudged, eyes raw. Vonsk spoke first. "We found your name, Salvager Rel, filed next to reckless heroism." She rubbed neck. "I prefer creative survival." Chen's voice softened. "Without you, no flagship would have returned. Coalition is indebted. Imperial likewise." Vansk added stiffly. Arden surveyed the Admiral's rivals, forced into camaraderie by the warped bones of their forebears. "Your debt is simple," she said. "Help clean this graveyard. Scrub the remaining Sarials. Make Rust Halo safe for people who don't carry guns." The two exchanged glances. Chen answered. "Provisionally agreed." "A joint recovery task force. Provisional now, permanent later," Arden pressed. "Because this war already wrote enough ghosts," neither admiral objected. Weeks on, the recovery accord formalized. Salvage tugs and naval engineers mapped every cluster, detonated cores under supervision. They found hundreds more Serials dormant, waiting for new wars. Arden supervised from respite, now patched with composite plates donated by both fleets. When the last warhead was sealed in containment, a ceremony convened on a bare patch of hull once belonging to Karth Station's command ring. A beacon was raised, its signal unobtrusive, a whisper rather than a shout. It pulsed coordinates and a simple epitaph. "Here ends the sleep of war." Arden floated beside the beacon, listening. Around her, the halo still gleamed with rust, but light struck it different, as if the debris accepted its new purpose, not as bait for more killing, but as memorial to folly and unlikely grace. Murphy's soft voice broke reverie. "Salvage manifests. Updated. Several merchantmen bid premium for reactor shards we retrieved." Arden smiled. "Back to work, then." "Plenty of rust left that won't wake up trying to kill anyone." She throttled thrusters, setting a gentle course through the quieted halo. Behind, the beacon kept whispering. This time, no sleeper missiles listened. Only the living,